Hey guys, this is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And I want to thank everybody who's been super supportive and liking and sharing and subscribing. And if you get anything from my work, a connected dot, an epiphany, a light bulb moment, a new book to read, a new author to explore, all the links are down below. If you would like to give me a love donation or just support my work, that'd be incredible. Because I closed on my house. I am now second time in a row homeowner. Yes, that happened yesterday. Today is the 5-year anniversary of my mother's passing. We had a blizzard here last night. It's below zero. I can imagine it was like minus 30 earlier and probably worse now. The wind's been howling. I woke up today with a migraine and just having to go in the shower in the bathroom and just run the shower because it's so like dry heat from the heater. Um, Towels are on the windowsill, still getting a draft. It's been difficult. And I got Morgan and Ethan hanging out on the electric blanket that was donated to me. So I do thank my really amazing friends who looked out for me. Coming world changes as we're all bracing for Christmas cold hell throughout the majority of the United States and Canada. And I also heard the UK might be also getting slammed with some really cold weather. By accident, probably not. Is it holding me up? Yes. I still don't have keys to my house. They were fixing a window and sealing everything, and I hope it got fixed. I'd probably get my keys on Monday. Not happy about that, but it is what it is. And then it's supposed to really lighten up in the middle of the week so I can start converting myself into the house. And I'm calling on Monday to see if I can get internet services put there so that when I officially am in there, I can have internet. I'm here until the 31st. So I have like a week left. We'll see. So the limbo continues, but I'm nice and warm. I'm car work this morning. I was out with my winter gear and battling the elements, but too cold. I'm snuggled up. So we're going to start with chapter 5, The Heart of the World. The last 2 chapters were pretty good. Can't imagine this not being good. So just to put this out there, I am very sinusy. I had some running blood coming out of my nose earlier due to the dryness. So I do apologize if I have to stop or pause a bunch. Quote, occult philosophy teaches that even now, under our very eyes, new race and races are preparing to be formed, and that it is in America that the transformation will take place and has already silently commenced. The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky. Quote, to do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. End quote, Proverbs. If they would have only known about the keys of Enoch, that secret doctrine quote would have fit very well with the keys of Enoch. there is a really good new race, and that is the new Earth, and that is us merging from the darkness into the light. Why I was drawn to reposition my light and my beam of light where I am now. The cosmic philosophy of the Order of Christian Mystics teaches that the cycle of human evolution from the primitive to perfection extends throughout 7 major or root races, one succeeding the other through immense periods of time, and each overlapping the other for many ages. Each major race has 7 sub-races, each of which is composed of many nations and peoples. Each sub-race spreads over and occupies a particular area, sometimes even a continent, almost exclusively, as each sub-race grows in power. Since it is the youngest and most virile, its nations gradually become the leaders for its cycle. It is generally accepted that America is to be the seat of the coming new sub-race, the 6th sub-race of the 5th major Aryan race. Quote, pure Anglo-Saxons hardly 300 years ago, the Americans of the United States have already become a nation apart and owing to a strong admixture of various nationalities, almost a race sur juris, not only mentally, but also physically. Thus, Americans had become in only 3 centuries a primary race, temporarily before becoming a race apart, and strongly separated from other now existing races. They are, in short, the germs of the 6th sub-race, and in some few hundred years more will become more decidedly the pioneers of the race, which most and must, succeedingly to the present European or 5th sub-race, all its new characteristics. I'm curious if they ever took into account, and knowing that they didn't know what they were writing back this time period in the 1900s, 1920s, about star seeds and galactics and hybrids. There's a lot of hybrids coming into our purview and speaking out now. Some teachers have given out that California is to be the seat of a new race. I find that very bizarre, without making it plain that it is only a sub-race to which they refer and not a major race. But since every sub-race extends through more than 210,000 years, and its component family races more than 30,000 years each, it'd be at least 10,000 before even a new family race reaches the zenith of its power and development. And thousands of years before it reaches that point of its development, even within a comparatively few years, the changes incident to the reemergence of the great continent of Lemuria from the waters of the Pacific will so modify California that it will hardly be recognizable. For remains of its present coast cities will be left far inland and separated from the sea by great stretches of newly risen land, which will be uninhabitable for ages while it's undergoing its period of preparation. For when a continent sinks beneath the sea, it undergoes a cleansing and purifying process to fit it for rehabilitation by those who, through many incarnations during the ages of its submersion, have so progressed that they require new and purified conditions, or they can incarnate on their homeland when it again emerges from the sea. The law is that at certain stages of evolution, both continents and humanity must be purified first by water, then by fire. In the human being, the personality is first cleansed by the salt tears of suffering, then by the fire of experience. In the case of a continent, it is first purified by the salt water, then it rises to lie as desolate desert waste for ages, while the volcanic fires and the baking action of the sun purify it as by fire. Much as flour is first mixed with water and then baked in the oven, is to fit for food. While children are the forerunners and pioneers of the new subrace and being born in California, they are also being born in the eastern states in each great numbers because more densely populated. Therefore, it will be many generations, or California will be especially distinguished in that respect. It is not California especially that must be prepared to receive the sensitive and advanced souls of the new subrace, but the entire country. It is part of the cosmic scheme or divine plan that America, as it develops and proves itself, is destined to become the leading nation of the new Aquarian age into which the world has recently entered. America is already called the most advanced nation in the world as far as achievements of mind, of new inventions, of mechanical and material development, and in wealth and luxury. She already leads the world. But in addition to her material achievements, she has proved herself of the most capable of using the products of the world for the highest ends, for she has unselfishly spent hundreds of millions of dollars and has gone the ends of the earth to feed and clothe and bring help to foreign cities, nations, and peoples in distress, whether suffering from disasters, famines, plagues, or the impoverishing results of war. Again, the Keys of Enoch is stating the new Jerusalem, USA, is America. And J.J. Hurtak, Dr. J.J. Hurtak, has a dove overlaid on the United States. So here and again, I bet you, I don't know if he read these people back in his heyday and he's still writing, but paralleling here. But in spite of all her generosity and unselfishness, she has much karma to reap. A great expansion of consciousness to undergo and the great realization of injustice done and its correction to bring about her, she can become the moral as well as the material leader of the world. Much of the injustice done to the Negro during the days of slavery has been corrected by making him a citizen and free to exercise all privileges of a citizen, not only to vote, but to live where he pleases. I don't agree with that. To go and come without restraint and work out his destiny according to his racial capacity, which citizenship privileges are denied to the Indian. And again, we have to understand when this was written, things were a different, way different, okay, than they are now. That's why I don't agree with it. But in their time, it is agreeable because that was the case, for sure. But then, you know, communism and those people who control the world have put into place many mechanisms that have held up all races, but in different calibers and ways. It's very disappointing. And hopefully now more people are starting to wake the fuck up. According to a message recently received from the master, quote, there are many things from which this nation must be cleansed, and her day of purgation is drawing nigh. Oh, if I could only say, this is my country. These are my chosen people, for I have chosen them that they shall prevail and rule the world. How easy and satisfactory such a statement would be. But it is not so. America, with all her possessions, her vast lands, her great wealth, her so-called advanced civilization, nevertheless must have her time of reckoning, her time of house cleaning. End quote. There's one special blot upon the escutcheon of this nation, and until it is recognized and something is done to bring about justice and an understanding and better conditions, there will be little hope of this country escaping the terrible cataclysms that are to come. I speak of its treatment of the original lords of this great land, the real Americans, now called the Indians. Ever since the sinking of Atlantis, when some of the wise men of that country took refuge on what is now known as America, their descendants have occupied the land. When after the ages and ages the white man came, he made no attempt to understand them, but called them ignorant savages and heathens. This then came his war of extermination, which failed to exterminate a war of stupidity and ignorance, a willful and persistent ignorance that the Indian had any rights, any religion, or any ideals worthy of recognition or consideration. As their religion, of course, the wonderful religion taught by the better class of Atlanteans of the right-hand path gradually degenerated through the ages, yet some of the Indians still retain many mysterious gifts and practices which are remnants of the Atlantean mysteries, but which were unrecognized by the ignorant white people who seized their possessions. Truth. Without compensation and tried to push the Indians off the earth, those who are the priests, those who have passed the initiations so intense and searching that they bring out the most heroic powers of body and soul, have many marvelous powers and attainments. No ordinary people could live and maintain their own life, their nationality, and their religion in the United States unless they had powers little dreamed of by the white man. Indeed, the white man is responsible for the suppression and killing out of the younger generation of Indians, of even the memory of their ancient mysteries. Many of the wise men have voluntarily withdrawn from earth life. It's true. Until this great wrong has been righted, until America begins to recognize and learn the mysteries, both as to religion, the development of mystic centers in the body, and many wonderful ways of living, which the Indian could teach her and is willing to receive and learn from them, as from a brother, she will never reach the heights of her glory. Not only was great injustice done the Indians in the past, but it is still continued to be done today. Although technically granted citizenship, they are not permitted to enjoy, exercise its privileges, not even allowed to seek redress in court for tribal affairs, as is freely granted to the Negro without the special permission of Congress. Makes me angry. Also, other government, after persuading the Indians to enter various treaties with it, has itself violated nearly every one of them, and the Indians are without redress in court. These are not matters of opinion, but are facts of public record. And they are. Could there be any greater injustice and denial of rights to the United States citizens in direct violation of the Constitution? But what they don't know is there's two constitutions, and one's fraudulent for the corporation. And the Articles of Confederation have been abridged. No wonder we are told that such a constant and still continuing injustice must have marked effect upon the karma of the whole nation until it's redeemed. We are going to be redeeming it soon. By the way, buckle up. It's taking this fucking long. It's disgusting. We're fucking human beings. Whether you're a hybrid, whether you're a starseed, whether you're just a plain person that is born on Earth, you are human. Sorry, deal with it. You're a good person based on the content of your character, not what you look like on the outside, because it should never be that way. Are you a good soul? Are you a really good person? Not this bullshit separation, divisiveness, labeling, stereotyping. Yeah, it's good to be pointing out and differentiating different things because cultures are beautiful and cultures are different. But when we attach a label of a negative connotation put on things, no, I'm not cool with that. The point is that even though the Indian did little to cultivate the soil and occupy the land in the agricultural sense, he should have been properly compensated for being driven from his forests and prairie hunting grounds into the arid desert regions, which no one else wanted until coal and oil were found upon them. The least America can do is to fulfill the solemn obligations voluntarily assumed by her in her many treaties with the Indians. The leaders of this nation should remember that the Indians are not an unintelligent and inferior race, but are the remnants of a once mightiest of races which reached the highest pinnacle of mental attainment and magical powers before the sinking of their continent, Atlantis. You talk about the mysteries of Egypt and the Far East. They are as nothing when compared to some of the mysterious and the mysteries known to and keep alive through the practice by certain Indian priests. You should do all that you can to induce Congress to right that injustice, but you should also pray and invoke the higher powers to help you save America from such a karma. Let America look to the power of her vital inner strength, not the strength of the arms of a great wealth, but the strength of justice, of karma redeemed, the strength of the man who knows. There is hope if there are even a few determined ones who can believe in their fellow man, who can realize the money is not all, that head learning is not all, for it is only trained and developed mind wedded to awaken heart that can carry you through the day of reckoning that is now dawning. Let us who will rise their hands to heaven morning, noon, and night and cry aloud, justice for the Indian, a clean excrucian for our country, the shortening of the days of tribulation. We are now entering upon a great age of testing. America is a wonderful country and should be at the heart of the world, but to be chosen and have the opportunity does not mean that she has obtained the position already. With all her great amendments and obtainments, her vast wealth, her mighty territory, her great abilities, she could hold the world in her grasp. America emerged from World War as a great world power, and had she taken her right place at the head of the League of Nations as her destiny, she could easily have led the world, but now it's too late. Since her repudiation of great mission and her great opportunity was lost, her moral leadership, and it will be wise for her to keep free from the European entanglements until she's able to dominate other than by her arms or wealth. This she will not be able to do until corrects injustice and disregard for law at home and begins to recognize and utilize such of the mysterious higher and super physical powers already known to the Indians. Holy fuck. There's just so much I can say, and I'm just not going to say it because this is just mind blowing. Holy shit. This great nation is the hope of the living power, and that it is to precede the manifestation of the beloved Son of God. But how can such a manifestation take place where all is dominated by materiality, by business strife and political turmoil? Whenever the earth is to pass through a great cataclysm and pass through a time of necessary purification, such positive manifestation of great avatar destined to come as a savior of mankind is given to humanity and is noted by its seers, prophets, and awakened ones. Such a manifestation of the loving Son of God has already been shown to you and its significance pointed out. Hence, you can say positively that he, the mighty one, has already come. He is invisible to the multitude because surrounded by the panoply of glory, always sent forth by the cosmic logi to surround an avatar until the time for his manifestation. Yet this glory can be penetrated under certain conditions by those who have concentrated themselves and given themselves up to helping wisely and silently in the great preparations. These are taught how to transcend the physical and through a mighty love for humanity penetrate the glory to where their Lord waits and correlate with him. He has come to close earth to give comfort and help to all his children during the day of reckoning that is at hand. For without his presence, there would be no hope. Yet he can be perceived only by those who, through love and aspiration and childlike faith, can penetrate the mist of glory that surround him. For his call still is, come unto me in spirit and in truth. His presence in the aura of the earth brings such a mighty outpouring of love that all who come to him in spirit and in truth will find the comfort and help needed for themselves and also to help others. I'm curious what a lot of people are thinking who that is, besides yourselves. And no, I don't think it's Yeshua either. Indeed, all who have faith and believe in his mighty love and catch even a ray of his radiance will be comforted and helped, for his mighty outshining is just amazing. America has great work to perform for the new day. America, which is often called the land of the free. If they only knew that we were so enslaved, is yet so bound, so tied down with the green widths of materialism, so helplessly caught in a net of misunderstanding and money question. Yet it was born to be the land of the free, and you must help to set it free, to bring about the freedom of the world. But to do so, it must recognize its mystical inner power. America is the greatest nation on earth and has been so destined for its inception because it is a reincarnation of the old Atlanteans, who are reincarnating at this time to do a very important service for humanity and the world. And it can save the world if it tries. Even if everyone will not work for it, whether 2 or 3 are gathered together in knowledge and power and persistency, in accomplishment, there can be no doubt about that result. America has the power to save this world from the cataclysms and conditions which will be running and turning point toward destruction or salvation. Geez, Louise. And I hope the people that follow what I do are connecting the dots. Think in those 17th letter of the alphabet drops. The great and mighty omnipotent power, which at this day and generation is once more to send down into this dark star the great outshining of his only begotten Son, the Christ consciousness. and must have disciples who can touch his robe. It is the day of regeneration. No longer must it be descent into the darkness of crucifixion and death. He must have disciples who know, even if they but few, gathered from all quarters of the world, gathered in the upper chamber of the higher divine intuition, knowing each other. I'm going to put a pause here because this is what is happening currently in our paradigm, in our plane of existence, on whatever density we are vibing on. The soul tribes are coming together, and each soul tribe has enormous amounts of people, and each of those people form a branch, and each of those branches have more people to add on to more people, because the skills are never ending. But your soul tribe is what you assigned yourself to prior to incarnation, with the people that you're going to work with to save humanity. And we're all finding each other with our specialties, our knowings, our communities. We're finding people and we're coming together. We're bringing the light of the Christos within us to deliver it to the people who need it. We're all coming together, whether you like it or not. These are the days prophesied of old, when East and West must meet, when hands must be clasped, when the great wall of misunderstanding shall be torn down, when the East shall learn that it is not the East alone that worships the true Lord of God of hosts, but also the sons and daughters of the West who have dedicated their lives to his service. The time is drawing close when all centers in all lands must recognize each other and join together. Everyone who can lift up his hands in blessing and cry to the Lord God in any language for the blessing to descend, the blessings of understanding, of brotherhood, and of oneness, the overcoming of the power of those in all countries who drive their fellow man like lambs to slaughter. There's going to be a period of eclipse, of darkness, when the clouds of human mind stuff are rolling up like thunderclaps. When we hear the distant rumble of the storm, we know which one that is. When we know there is danger, when we know we must be more and more lifted and filled with the living power of the Christ, if we would save this ship. This little speck we call Earth is our ship, and it is in great distress. It is what is God. He is not a being far off in heaven. He is divine love. He has placed centers of force in every human being through which his kind of love can radiate and manifest. What will you do with the awakened force, spread and save the world within you? In ages long past, when the time for a cyclic earth change had come, there was gathered together a great company which said, "Come, let us build a mighty temple unto the Lord." And the great pyramid of Egypt still stands today as a monument to their efforts. To accomplish this, there was a great burying of differences in ideas and religious conceptions, and an overwhelming desire to embody the divine principles of making and maintaining of the universe in such a way that it would be a lesson to all future generations. Every step was carefully considered, and the many types of people necessary were brought together from all parts. First, there was the prophet, to whom was given the idea and its symbology, the plans and measurements in which the wonderful hidden mysteries of the earth were to be foreshadowed and embodied. Then came the divine helpers of the mortal, those who upheld the hands of the one to whom the task was given. Then there were the many classes of artisans and workers of all kinds gathered from the ends of the earth, each a specialist in his own time and line, yet all agreeing to make the great mandate, come, let us make a mighty temple unto the Lord. Then came the serfs, the ignorant ones, the laborers. These were not beaten slaves, as history imagines, for no such temple could have been built or have endured through the ages on such a basis. There was not one who had not his own place and work of mind or of talent or a body, and all this work was given freely as a sacrifice to the God of gods. Even today, it is still a mystery to the modern world how it was accomplished. How did they gain their superhuman knowledge, their superhuman ability? By devotion, by giving themselves to their cause, their lives, their talents, their all. The mighty pile, therefore, stands today as a great monument, not as we so often hear, to God's glory alone, but to man's cooperation, devotion, and determination. Today, we are drawing very close to another just such a mighty era in the world's unfoldment. And the Lord Christ comes down to earth and says, build unto me another mighty pyramid, which shall endure throughout the ages, a monument to my glory and to the devotion and cooperation of my children. But this new monument is not to be made of stones and earth and cement and particles and forces of the earth. It is to be made of human hearts, of human lives, of human devotion. What shall come of you if this day of days, this time of times, this great cosmic anniversary is waiting for recognition and fulfillment, and mankind fails to grasp it? Those who have heard the call, those who can understand and grasp the mystery of the mighty work to be accomplished, are the ones to inaugurate it. And many of you. You are but human, and the greatness and magnitude of the work may stagger your minds, and you may say, we are so small in the world's sight, so seemingly powerless and limited in every way. Yet we will do our best. But all can begin at the beginning. First, the preparation of their hearts to comprehend, their minds to understand the mighty ideal. Second, to overcome the natural tendencies which lead them away from devoting their attention to the ideals of the inner and real life. This is a mighty work. And if America is to become the heart of the world, it is here that it should begin. Here its heart must begin to beat like that of an unborn babe. When a child is to be born, the first sign of life is the beating of the fetal heart. And that is also the least center to cease at death. The fetal heart of this mighty living monument to the Lord Christ has already begun to beat in the heart of this nation, but it needs love and devotion and cooperation to sustain it. And so the cry goes forth as of old. Come, bring your talents, your love, your life, your all, and help build the living monument unto the Lord God. You who have heard the voice, you who have felt the heartbeat, are the ones to send forth the call, to instill into every heart a vision of that which is to be desired to help, to build with your prayers and devotion and spiritual forces as well as material. For this monument is not to be a pile of masonry, but a flaming fire ascending to the very throne of God, purifying the whole earth and touching the hearts of every nationality and bringing them here. This is a mighty message, and it needs a mighty comprehension, a mighty devotion, a consecration, a secretion, and continual prayer, and above all, communion with the Lord of the nations. You cannot accomplish it alone. God himself cannot accomplish it alone. For it is destined that his sanctuary shall be built by sanctified hearts and by his hands gladly given to lift up his banner before the heart, hungry, distant, weary, and despondent children. Begin with this order which you love and help to support, and build, build, build. Spread its teachings broadcast to every awakened heart. Spread the knowledge of its books. Let there be no lack, for this is the beginning of that great brotherhood of nations that is to be gathered, not only out of this nation, but out of all nations, to build this mighty temple unto the Lord God. Be like the unknown king whose name has died out of history, yet who first got the conception of the pyramid, but like those helpers who, putting into it their all, built into it the mysteries of science and religion, not even dreamed of, but which were to be manifested later. Then pray daily that the little doors of this heart of the world shall speedily open, that this wonderful child of light shall grow and wax strong and come to birth in this nation, so that all mankind shall see the light of his countenance in shining through. Will you enlist in this great undertaking? You're all to the solving of the greatest problem the world has ever faced. To bring peace and harmony and cooperation out of the present day confusion and unbrotherliness, that the one divine light may shine forth and illumine all. Now are the spiritual people fucking crazy? People like me, I'm ostracized, cast to the side, and told I'm fucking nuts because I speak of the Christos, and I know that God's within me, and I know that I'm an archangel. I know that I'm a fractal of a million fucking amazing energies. And so are you. But you need to find that within yourself and understand what you are. Oh no, but she's batshit crazy because no, she's this, she's that, she's a label, she's a stereotype. Oh, those people with their sage and you got to accept every being on this planet, culture, race, creed, language, regardless of your feelings, because they're all human and a part of the divine destiny of this earth. There's no one book that has all the secrets. There's not one quote, not one disciple, not one. Each culture has its Christ. It's a freaking office. Kiza Enoch. There's many races of ETs. They all go by the law of one. Oneness, one. We're all one. They get it. We are still in duality. Fourth dimension is duality as well. It's understanding and then leaving it to go to 5. Big difference. As many of us are being awoken, lighted up, and understanding our missions here on this planet. I'm already in. I did already one quest. I finished a quest. Now I'm on to my greater mission. And I have many missions. You all have many, 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 many missions to conquer, to spread the word. And it doesn't necessarily need to be on YouTube or on the internet. It could be in your local community. It could be spreading it to the children. It could be writing a book. It could be in your everyday interactions, just smiling and giving that light to the people to wake them up. It's not just about the truth on the politics, on how the world is running and who's running in the world and who's evil and who's bad. And it all has it and served a purpose. This is an experiment, by the way. It was infringed upon. God let it happen. Sorry, truth. Yeah, there was a war upstairs that ended up coming here. There was an infiltration of AI. There's nanobots and People talk about all of this stuff and people think people are crazy, but it's the truth. It would be boring if it was just us. Never was just us. Many, many cycles of Earth happened way before us. And we are now merging to a new cycle. Are you going to stay or are you going to go with the new cycle? And are you going to raise the light where you are and open up the portals that need to happen? I know why I am where I am now. And it's a glorious, amazing feeling to feel that. Because I know it's coming directly from God. Now for the next chapter. Chapter 6, the Battle of Armageddon. Feels like we're in that right now, aren't we? Quote, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, for they are the spirits of the devil, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the whole earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. And he gathered them together into a place called the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. End quote, Revelation. I'm going to put a pause right there because I want to distinguish something. In the Bible, they kind of took what dragons are and made them evil. And I don't doubt that there aren't dragon spirits that are on the negative polarity. But I'm going to tell you right now, the dragons are what formed this material plane of existence and Earth, where we dwell in right now. They're the guardians and keepers of this plane of existence and many other dimensions. If you listen to Pamela Erlin and the story of Archangel Hillel and how he came down into materiality, it happened with the dragons. And now what? Oh, a lot of us are getting our dragon activations. Our dragon guides are coming through. Our dragons are coming. They're not evil. The Asians depicted dragons all over the place. Game of Thrones, World of Warcraft. Why are all the dragon stuff coming out all of a sudden? They have to tell you the truth, but they disguise it in fiction. Just put that into an acknowledgement there that you've been deceived about everything. The literal meaning of Armageddon is, quote, on the heights, end quote, or on high. And in this sense, it is used to designate not a physical battlefield, but the invisible realms of the astral plane. It's the truth. The hosts which are gathered to this great battle are the hosts of the accumulated thought forms of lust, greed, envy, hate, selfishness, and unbrotherliness, engendered by a wrong thinking of humanity for the beginning, as well as a result of their evil words and deeds. Why do they keep saying this is a spiritual battle? And it's biblical. Oh, I can't imagine, because there's things going on that you visibly can't see. Oh no, it's a Photoshop. Oh no, this is the CGI. Oh no, this is AI bull crap. It's real. And many of us are feeling it, know it, embrace it, embody it. Many of us at night are battling it out, sweating with blood on our sheets in the morning. What is your soul doing? Just saying. Jeremiah specifically refers to these forces as causes when he says, "Hear me, O earth, behold, I will bring evil upon the people, even the fruit of their thoughts, because they have not hearkened unto my words, nor my law, but reject it." During the battle, all the stored up evil must have a focus through which it can pour itself out upon the lowest or physical plane, where its precipitation will end the cycle of its manifestations. These forces have accumulated because during the childhood of the race, lords of karma, through the masters of wisdom and the rulers of the subraces, have held the forces back until the race grew strong enough to bear them upon its shoulders. Grew up, as it were. The cycle is now closing, and time for the adjustment is at hand, so that the new sixth sub-race may enter the new age with a clean slate. Therefore, I am full of the fury of the Lord, law. I am weary with holding in. I will pour it out upon the children abroad and upon the assembly of the young men together. And there is invariably found some human being who, because of his pronouncement, because of his habit of opening his mind to the insulating flattery and fatuous promises of a great attainment, or perhaps a world domination for the astral leaders, whom the Bible refers to as the rulers of darkness of this world, becomes the executor or mouthpiece of the stored up evil forces, or the channel through which they find expression in the physical world, as for instance, Nero, the Borgias, and others in later eras. In this way, the evil and unredeemed karma of the race is adjusted so as to permit the good aspect of the forces involved to be extracted, just as one ore is crushed, melted, that the gold may extract, often such as one believes himself to be the chosen of the Lord, chosen to cleanse the world, or to impose his idea or of culture upon it. For the dominated principalities of evil have convinced him that they are the voice of God, and he prides himself on being their obedient servant. Hence, while many are referring to the present European conflict and of Armageddon, the meaning of the word shows that the present world war, but if one reflection or outpouring on earth of the real battle that has been raging in the higher realms, it is precipitant now because an earthly channel has been found in the person of a leader sufficiently egotistical, presumptuous, or self-righteous to listen to the flattery of the astral entities and become the earthly advocate of those powers of darkness. The working out and adjustment of these karmic forces must take place at the close of each race, in a lesser degree at the close of each subrace. The adjustment precipitates the great race wars, which are followed by the cataclysms which mark the close of a subrace, and races for every particle of matter composing the race continents, as well as every particle in the body of an individual man, must have its own individual balancing, purification, readjustment, and ultimate redemption, that it may be ready for the subsequent advance. The last great Armageddon of the entire race occurred just before the sinking of the continent of Atlantis, at the close of the cycle of the fourth great race, Atlantean. This hints at the struggle between the sons of God and the sons of dark wisdom, our forefathers, or the Atlantean and Orion adepts. The whole history of that period is allegoricized In the Ramayana, which is the mystic narrative in the epic of the struggle between Rama, the first king of the divine dynasty of the early Aryans, and the agent of white forces, and Ravana, the symbolic personification of the Atlantean Lanka race, and the agent of the black forces. The former were incarnations of the solar gods, the latter of the lunar divas. This was the great battle between good and evil, between the white and black magic, for the supremacy of the divine forces over the lower terrestrial or cosmic powers. The sinking of the continent of Atlantis, which followed that Armageddon, was the balancing of the accounts of the great entire fourth race. It was a necessary preparation through the purifying action of the salt water of the continent for future race of the sixth. The survivors of that cataclysm, those who were sufficiently spiritualized, awakened, and obedient to follow their divine rulers, were picked out, separated, and trained by the masters before the sinking of the continent, and so became the seed of the present fifth Aryan great race, just as certain people are now being chosen and trained for a similar function. It's many of us. This present fifth race ends some thousands of years hence, for we are now just entering upon its sixth sub-race. A similar adjustment of its race karma must take place, and it has now already begun in its physical manifestation. The Great World War, now raging, offers a focal point through which the karma of the fifth sub-race of the Aryan race can be precipitated upon the physical plane and adjusted. And in Emperor William of Germany, a leader has been found who could be so deluded and obsessed as to be used as a tool of the dark forces. But we must remember the words of Jesus. It must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man whom the offense cometh. Therefore, while we must condemn his acts, we must also pity and pray for the man. Europe is the first focal point of Armageddon because it was Europe that the greater part of the karma was endangered through the many bitter political wars which drenched its soil in blood, through the sectarian wars created and carried on in the name of the church, but which perverted religion and made priestcraft a curse, and through the intolerance, selfishness, and mental and spiritual blindness of the religious leaders, which manifested in the mental war, which finally culminated in the most inhumane persecutions the civilized world has ever known, that religious frenzy known as the Inquisition. Today, we are reaping especially the karma sown by the unspeakable cruelties practiced by the Inquisition, for it stands as the great crime of the fifth sub-race. While it is true that Christians were burned and tortured in the earlier centuries by Nero and others, even what are called pre-Christian atrocities were but the spawn out of which the Inquisition was hatched, and from that can be traced almost all the degrading crimes of the later days, especially intolerance and hatred and their results. We are apt to associate the Inquisition with Spain, yet Spain and her Western colonies did not institute the Inquisition until the year 1232, while in Italy, France, England, and Germany, it was full swing, with intervals of cessation from early in the 6th century, especially in Germany, with Conrad Mayberg, called the Terrible, as chief inquisitor. The cruelty was persecuted with such extreme zeal and horror as even to exceed the wishes of the Pope. The Inquisition was also established on the high seas in all galleys and ships. There, the cruelties and punishments were beyond belief. While this present conflict seems wholly evil, it is not entirely so for the race. For not only will many of the old karmic debts be adjusted and thus allow the contending nations to enter into a federation in which the independence of each nation and people will be guaranteed as brothers, some older, some younger, in great social family, and thus prevent war from long period, wipe out at least part of the karmic debt, and enter the new era, which a clean slate, as it were, but the war is developing in the race as whole an enormous amount of feminine qualities, love, compassion, sympathy, devotion, unselfishness, and service so necessarily as the race enters the Aquarian or woman's age, the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Among the contending nations, the English, French, and Germans have reached the zenith of their cycles as nations, hence must be tested or they can enter the new cycle. They are classed among the nations which represent the highest stage of modern civilization, culture, intellectual, and material advances on the planet today. But they must now prove the truth of their proud boasts, must prove whether their civilization and culture is the result of a true spiritual growth or whether it is more veneer of intellectual and material attainment, founded in cruelty and intolerance, and without corresponding spiritual unfoldment. Has their so-called advance in civilization brought their peoples into a greater realization of spiritual basis of all manifestation? Has it led them to strive for a more conscious communion with the realms of spiritual consciousness as daily and personal experience? Has it taught them the folly of seeking to satisfy the ceaseless cravings of the soul for union with its source through the gratification of senses or possession of material things? Has their scientific study of the wonderful cooperation of brotherhood existing among the cells, tissues, and organs of every unit of organized life led them, if for no other reason as a matter of efficiency, to follow the same law and express greater tolerance, cooperation, and brotherhood among themselves as members of the great body of humanity? Have their studies led them to recognize the true position of women as the priestess of the household, the complement and co-worker with men, the spiritual head of the family, as man is the material, the inspirer and leader in all spiritual, ethical, and moral problems? In time of emergency, stress, and strain, where there is scarcely time for thought, will the culture of these nations enable them instinctively to display more love, compassion, self-sacrifice, and humanity, simply because man is man, than the less cultured nations would under similar conditions? Or will they relapse to the level of uncultured animal man who fights solely for self? This is the test which their civilization must stand, and those nations which show most conclusively that these higher qualities have been built into their nation consciousness must be the ones to dominate and manifest these qualities more perfectly in the world's arena during the coming cycle of the New Age. The Slavonic nations, on the other hand, have not reached the zenith of their evolution, but are on the upward arc. Hence, the more primitive qualities of their civilization must be used by the great law as instruments which to accomplish the testing of the more advanced nations and to make possible the inauguration of a new era. When the physical conflict is over, a terrible mental revolt against all forms of restraint, both in government and religion, will burst forth. Here we are. Here we are. It will be a period of extremes of individualism, a period when the opposition to all systemized or organized spiritual teachings, because people like me are evil, which is even now manifesting under various doctrines of religious and so-called soul freedom, will find extreme expression. It will be a period of both extreme and agnosticism and extreme individualistic teachings, when any fantastic theory, even without a rational or philosophical basis, will find a hearing and followers. At the same time, there will be a strong feeling upon the part of those who cling to the old conceptions that it is their duty to humanity to enforce the old religious ideals. This will be a great test as to whether religious intolerance has been outgrown, for there can be no permanent peace until the minds of majority of mankind have been sufficiently developed, broadened, and spiritualized to banish it forever. Hence, all churches, orders, movements, and societal professing a spiritual basis will be, on one hand, have radicals whose extremes will bring them into disrepute, while the other hand, they will have those who will laugh at, ridicule, discredit, oppose, and persecute them. And the same fire that had manifested as physical war will again sweep the world as mental, spiritual, and psychic conflict. And it is also those nearest and dearest, or those companions who helped us create the karma, who are used by the great law to test and adjust the karma. It will be a time when all spiritual movements will be under a cloud, when spirituality, the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, the child shall rise again, their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. Therefore, it will be a period of great testing, a period when every heart who has realized the reality of the spiritual world and its forces must be securely grounded in the philosophy and stand firmly and unshakably for his or her beliefs, even though to do so involves ridicule, persecution, and mental suffering. For every system of teaching not founded upon the rock of divine reality and expressed in terms suitable to the new conditions must pass away to make room for the new. These conditions will be so terrible that they will only last a very few years, perhaps only 2 or 3, for we are told that for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened, and except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. The only way that the elect can prove themselves is by their sincerity, their steadfastness, their trust, and their determination to hold calmly to their spiritual ideals and to rely absolutely upon the divine inner guidance, while they pray without ceasing that these days be shortened. Words and arguments will be of no avail. The truth of their beliefs can be proved only by living them. All such will be light and shining lights in this period of mental and spiritual darkness, or more correctly, blindness. It will not be until after the close of this period that the long expected great teacher, the Avatar, will appear to reassure distracted humanity of the spiritual basis of all manifestation and to outline a new and higher conception of the spiritual life and its forms of expression. Note that they said avatar. Avatar. The battles of the physical world are fought on the physical plane with physical weapons, but the true battle of Armageddon must be fought first upon the astral plane with thoughts and psychic forces for weapon. The conflict now raging being but a pouring out of the evil and gathering together of the forces of good for the final battle on the higher planes. What many of us have been going through. The battle has already begun. During the entire 6th sub-race of the present 5th great race, we may expect more or less unsettled conditions, for this is the time of adjustment, the time of struggle to overcome the evils which the race as a whole has outlived. Yet there, which is not fully conquered and redeemed. The number 6 is both the number of the Christ and also of unrest. It symbolizes the mighty struggle of Christ's force to penetrate into and transmute the evil and manifest itself. Hence, only as humanity enters into the 7th subrace will it have true and lasting peace and rest. Although groups here and there may have it before that time, For God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, and also the seventh race. Each seventh subrace is especially blessed, and during that period rest from his labors. Therefore, the progress of the sixth subrace into which we are now entering will be marked by tremendous disasters precipitated upon the physical plane: wars, earthquakes, cyclones, volcanoes, eruptions, meteoritic showers, floods, etc. Or more or less severely, until the final battle and cataclysm in which the battlefield and the defeated army will be swallowed up, and a new and purified land shall arise out of the waters. During the sixth subrace, for this new sixth great race to inhabit, the victors will remain as the seed of the new race to people the new land. The final battle does not refer to the end of the present war of nations, but to the close of the true battle of Armageddon, of which the present war is but the first phase. The cataclysmic changes in the Earth's surface will result in the rising out of the waters of the Pacific Ocean, the ancient Lemurian continent, which, during the entire seventh subrace, will pass through the various steps necessary to make it a fit dwelling place for the sixth great race. Just as these changes must take place for the planet, so must they take place in humanity through bloody wars, strikes, and other conflicts, which will continue until all conflicts of man with man and man's resistance to the divine are swallowed up out of the waters, and affliction will there shall rise a new greater humanity with the brotherhood, love, peace, and harmony as its watchword. The time has now come when the accumulated mass of old race karma must be definitively met and conquered. Ere humanity can enter unto the new subrace, its next step in evolution. This accumulated karma, in a measure, is to the world what the dweller on the threshold is to the neophyte. And as the neophyte, before each important step is taken, it must be met and conquered. For just as a neophyte, through the evil thoughts, words, and acts, he's created an entitized form of evil, his individual dweller. So humanity has been pouring out its evils throughout its long cycle until they have become entitized as a dark planet, with the living ruler, the Antichrist, who definitely works through those who give themselves up to the guidance or obsession. This dark planet may be called the dweller on the threshold for humanity as a whole. The astronomers of Harvard University have already discovered the influence of this dark planet, the destroyer, which, if encountered, means the destruction of Earth. The astronomers, Service, is quoted as saying that the Earth and this whole solar system has gone astray and is trailing off away from the path around the great central sun, Alcyone in the Pleiades, toward the constellation Andromeda in the Milky Way. These are but astronomical configurations of the fact that we have entered the sixth subrace and that the hosts are rapidly gathering for the battle of Armageddon. The Earth is being driven through space in the new direction by the character of the thought force of its collective humanity. But there is another planet, yet not recognized by science, which is a bright planet, the Redeemer, to be drawn into whose aura means salvation. These two planets may be called the camping grounds of the opposing forces, with the Earth as the battleground. But back and within the outer cause, as a propelling power, will be the preponderating force of good or evil thoughts engendered by humanity. Therefore, the real battle is to be fought on the mental and astral planes with thoughts and psychic forces, good and bad, as weapons, and later be reflected and precipitated on and in the earth. Hence, all advanced students who consciously determine to make love, brotherhood, purity, and peace their standards of life, thus enroll themselves among the hosts of the Lord and become soldiers of the cross. The earth, also humanity, is purified alternately by water and fire. Both are now passing through a baptism of fire. Every soldier in the armies, as well as every munition worker and helper behind the lines, is helping the great law to bring this purifying process into manifestation. Hence, each one is servant of the divine flame and is helping to work out a cosmic event in the evolution of mankind, whether he or she knows it or not. The dragon of the next text quote at the head of this chapter symbolizes the synthesis of the world's perverted thoughts of sexual and commonly called the devil. The three unclean spirits like frogs, which come from his mouth, symbolize the three great expressions of the dragon force: sex, impurity, suppression, and perversion. The creation of disease by such perversion and extreme cruelty, frightfulness, and insanity, or psychic obsession resulting from astral entities or individual dwellers on the threshold, utilizing sensitive but negative victims through which they can satisfy their desires. But I wouldn't call those dragons. Dracos. The beast is a symbol of mammon, or greed, expressing through the money power. The three evil spirits issuing from his mouth comprise of all miseries and sorrows that arise as a result of greed and injustice in their threshold expressions of war, persecuted but for territorial or commercial expansion, situated in financial by money power, poverty resulting from the unjust distribution of wealth, which distribution is controlled by the money power, and the train of evils resulting from bodily and industrial slavery. The false prophet symbolizes all false teachings which have been given out in the name of religion or spiritual teaching to justify and uphold both dragon and beast. I don't agree with the dragon. But which have misled humanity and held it back from manifesting peace, love, and brotherhood. From his mouth came forth the three frogs of materialized religion, priestcraft, temporal power, and world domination, spiritual pride, and intolerance and handmaiden religious persecution. This conflict of pride, intolerance, and persecution did not die out with the Inquisition, but is still active today. It is now direct not so much against the physical bodies of its victims, but it is conducted mentally and psychically through the slanders, scandals, and malicious misrepresentations carried on through various publications and commonly called brutal journalism. All these factors, as the Bible passage quoted plainly tells us, work for King Desire and his allies and their cohorts. One of the first rules impressed upon the spiritual aspirant is that to obtain at one mint, by the path of love and purity, he must lay down all cardinal weapons. Jesus emphasized the rule when he said to Peter, "Put up again thy sword into his place. For they all take the sword shall perish with the sword." Yet we find the disciples spoken of as a soldier of the cross and commanded to array himself as a fighting factor in the world's salvation. Jesus also said, "I came not to send peace, but a sword." Behind the paradox lies a great truth, the understanding of which is necessary. Any decided conclusion in consciousness advanced in the spiritual unfoldment of either the individual or the race can take place, the conquering must take place on the plane where the causes were engendered and the weapons are love and purity. This means that the thoughts and prayers of love and purity must be sent out in such numbers and with such positive spiritual force that they are surrounded and transmute the impure and antagonistic forces, following the same tactics as the white warrior's cells, the phagocytes of the blood. And I totally ripped that word to shreds right there. And I took microbiology, goodness sakes, of the blood used in the meeting of an invasion of disease germs, not deny the evil, but surround and transmute the evil into good. The voice of the silence tells us, strive with thy thoughts unclean before they overpower thee. Use them as they will thee. For if thou sparest them and they take root and grow, know well these thoughts will overpower and kill thee. If you find them persistently clinging to you, send out an army of pure love and thoughts to absorb and transmute them. Science recognizes the fact that during epidemics of disease, the mere thinking and talking about the disease will make the negative persons more susceptible to it. This does not mean that all disease is merely mental. The fact that animals are swept with infectious diseases disproves that, but that by negative thoughts, we open a door in our aura through which the disease can enter. This effect is still more evident in moral epidemics and in epidemics of war thoughts, which sweep over nations, or unconsidered actions sweep a mob. Therefore, spiritual aspirant will, while fighting steadfastly for justice and righteousness, shall lay down all carnal thoughts of hatred and revenge, or he will surely perish with the sword, outcomed by the hosts of evil thought forms he has drawn upon and into his aura. Applied the warning to the nations, this principle indicates that we should not waste time and force in directing our prayers and thought forces to specific European nations that they shall cease fighting, for they are acting under the tremendous urge for a long pent-up karmic readjustment, which must take place. And they cannot respond to our prayers until after the karmic readjustment has been worked out. As we sit down and pray that a dirty room might be swept and cleaned without any action on our part. The result can be accomplished only by the power of the housemaid's broom. There's only one efficacious way to pray for peace, and that is to pray that the will of the Father shall be done on earth, even as it is done in heaven, through those who can understand, respond to, and execute that will. That divine will is love first, last, and all the time. And having prayed thus, we must believe and know that this divine love is back of the entire world, the reign of universal love, peace, and harmony, even through it to be necessary to sweep from its path all the opposing that reign. The terrible conditions which prevail today are not the will of the Father, but are the creations of man. It's damn true. The result of the resistance and opposition to the divine will, the creation of unbrotherliness, ambition, selfishness, and greed, not altogether on the part of those instrumental in participating and now participating in the present conflict, but the accumulation of selfishness, greed of the race, all of which must come up from adjustment now to close of the cycle of the fifth sub-race, which is also the end of the old Piscean dispensation, just as the rash must come out in measles, scarlet fever, the real healing can begin. Excuse me. Therefore, while we pray that these days be shortened, know well the peace and righteousness must first come in the hearts of the people of all the nations involved and of the whole world. Arms and ammunition are but harmless and innate physical things without the power to initiate injury or destruction. It is only man's will to use them for such purposes that make them dangerous. Try not to think of the individuals except in compassion, knowing that the great law will adjust their conditions and in its own good time. Those who are dying for their ideals, even those whose ideals are but a local patriotism and loyalty to an earthly ruler, are the measure redeemers for the race, for they are dying that the race may be purged from the with war thought, the war ideal, and the curse of militarism. I totally butchered that too. Hence, in their next incarnation, they will receive the just reward for their sacrifice. By their suffering and dying, they have brought the world to a greater realization of the utter folly and needlessness of war if the divine will were followed. For there is nothing that is so counteracts the idea of war as to have a dearly loved one killed in such a war. By their sacrifice, they wiped out much of the individual and racial karma and will receive their compassion by enabling to incarnate the next time very quickly, even now perhaps through the same mothers and under far more advanced conditions of civilization that they could have experienced had they remained a few years longer in the present life. It's true and sad. Those who die with hatred in their hearts will consciously opposing the reign of righteousness will remain out of incarnation for a while, long cycle, in fact, until the race has learned how to deal with them. Send your forces of love, peace, and brotherhood into the higher realms, where they will aggregate into a mighty force, which will swallow up all future thoughts of national selfishness and aggrandizement, and be a powerful factor in forming a federation of European nations on the grounds of common humanity and brotherhood, which shall make it impossible for the ambitions or passions of a few to plunge nations into bloody and needless conflicts, which should be an important factor in preparing for a coming of the Avatar. All persons who are sensitive have realized for some time that there is a terrible commotion in the mental and astral worlds, which is now intensified by physical conflict going on in Europe, and also by the thousands of souls which have suddenly been thrown out of incarnation, some of whom carry with them all the excitement, antagonism, and hatred which animated them as they fought. This composite force is like tension or steady pressure upon all humanity, tending to make all persons more irritable and excited. Therefore, it is the duty of every advanced student to take special pains to see that he does not make an opening in his aura through which such forces can manifest by giving way to impatience, irritation, and emotion, or partisanship, race, and class antagonism. Instead, he should consciously strive to make himself a center from through which the constructive forces of peace, harmony, and love and brotherhood can radiate in his family and immediate environment and out into the world, which many of us are doing. Arrayed against the hosts of evil stand the thought creations of love, harmony, justice, righteousness, purity, and upliftment of a race sent out in a steady stream by the lodge of masters and by great teachers since the world began, as well as all persons who have been able to think, vitalize thoughts of love, purity, harmony, and brotherhood. All humanity have aided and are still aiding their quota to one side or the other. It is the density of this fifth subrace to see the beginning of the great and decisive battles between good and evil, or to be more explicit, between purity and impurity, selfishness and unselfishness. Hence, it is time that all who desire the salvation of the race and the planet should awaken to the grave conditions we have outlined herein, and determinately array themselves on the side of good by sending their individual pure and vital love thoughts to swell the hosts of the Lord. For you cannot say a loving word or do a loving deed, even to an animal or plant, without having a loving thought behind it. And every loving and peaceful thought adds strength to the army of good, as the Christ says, inasmuch as ye have done unto one of the last of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. The pure hosts of the Lord are mustered in serenade ranks according to the natural law and order, while the forces of evil, being a perversion of nature and abnormal, are not organized in the astral world except in their individual bands, loosely held together only by selfish interests and ready at the moment, is that of a small but well-organized army can overcome a much larger force that is unorganized. And as evil and impure forces are sent out by haphazard impulse, they may be compared to an unorganized mob, while thoughts of good, because they require all will and intention, can consciously create and be gathered together by the masters and formed into well-drilled, well-disciplined, and well-forced army, always in good fighting condition. Good is stronger than evil because it is constructive and immortal and works in harmony with the great law. Masters of the Great White Lodge, although few in number, is compared with the multitudes of humanity, are nonetheless able to engender and consciously use the far greater degree of creative force on the side of purity, peace, love, brotherhood. But even they must work with the law as karma and may not forcibly prevent a sub-race or race from experiencing its karmic retribution and readjustment. But their efforts, being consciously directed and wisely applied, weigh heavily in the scale. They do not act on the physical plane, however, except through their disciplines and those who respond to their inspiring currents of force. Hence, their great need today is of those who will consciously make themselves centers of peace, purity, harmony, and love, and more or less conscious instruments through which they can work. Therefore, instead of devoting all your efforts to unfolding your own faculties and developing your own personality, set to work earnestly and consciously to create warrior thought forces for the army of the Lord, to the end that not only you, but the race and the planet itself shall be saved from destruction. Written in May 1909. Revised September 30th, 1914, September 1917. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, old and young, here we are. This is here. Who's there? Every word that was spoken in these two chapters and this incredible book that was written back then.
We're seeing it now. What side are you on? Are you standing up? Many of us are being held back. Many of us have been told to wait on our activations to go forth with our missions. There's divine reason for that, because each of us holds a special key to that light vibration and frequency that we must unleash at a certain time when more people are activated. But the soul tribes are trying to find each other right now, and we're all spread across the planet. The density, the plane of existence that we all are dwelling in and are conscious in. Where are you? The war has been here. It's been going on since their time. We're finishing it. Buckle up. Here we are. This has left me. You see, even Morgan agrees. Ethan's indifferent. He's just chilling out on the electric blanket. Hi, Mama. Just like, Mom, it's cold. -26, it feels like outside. Fun. Before I end this video, I hope that this gives you renewed faith. No matter what you practice, it's all about love and the divine law of nature, the law of one. Doesn't matter what you practice, as long as it's out of love and for the all, the source, the infinite intelligence, the Logi, God of the all. I don't agree with the dragon aspect of this, because dragons are of God. Everything is of God. But everything has been spoken, is going on right now, as if it already hasn't happened, because it has in their time. But we're seeing it again. And this is karmic. But more and more people are coming into their awareness of the Christ consciousness that dwells within them. It's the Christos, the DNA of the atom cadmium, that is being activated into its crystalline form. It is many of us who are actualizing in totality what fragments of source we are made up of, because we're all made up of different sources. We all have different types of guides. Some of them are more ethereal. Some of them are archangel. Some of them are, not to say that you don't have a guide or an angel with you at all times, but some of us are actually parts of them. I am multidimensional. I already have 2 other vessels, material plane vessels, out in the universe, and I know about them. Like confirmation right there. But I know what I am in this vehicle, and it's incredible. And it's not coming from an egotistical, oh, look at me, I'm better than you. It has nothing to do with that, because you all are fractals of God. All of you have fragments of this universe within you, and it's special, and you should embrace it, because once you actualize all of that and understand what you are as a avatar, you can work your love, your purity, your magic. You can work the powers and abilities that you have already inside you to help others. It's all about helping and loving and purifying and cleansing and giving out the knowledge to help other people on their way. It's nothing to do with ego. When you actualize and understand who you are at a soul basis. It's amazing. It's incredible to know what you are, to know your guides. And if you're not there yet, do not feel bad.
Everybody's coming online at different times. There's a reason why there's waves, like Dolores Cannon states, waves of volunteers. The waves came in different stages because we just needed the light. We just needed people to be the light. We needed people to be the light, but to spread. We needed people to be able to spread and move. We needed people to be actualizing, totalitizing their all for humanity. Some of these children coming in now, they're just reincarnated fragments of ascended masters who are fucking genius, who are going to help us with the technologies to move us forward. These kids are here now, alive, talking on TikTok. They're very special. The kids being born now are even higher fractals of more ascended masters, of people who have brilliance, but wasn't acknowledged in their time because they thought they were fucking batshit crazy. Because the technology didn't even exist. It wasn't even a thought put out there. But now these kids are coming in with this information and it's just spitting out of them. We have to hold the light for them. It is about the children, but it's not just about the children suffering. All of them are. All of them are suffering. Not just the ones that we're talking about in the DOMs and in the tunnels. Yes, that's just. But the ordinary kid, tomorrow's Christmas. Well, Christmas Eve is almost a dawning upon us. There are kids out right now with no heat. It is -26 feeling by me. Is that acceptable? And it's not their parents' fault, by the way. People lost their jobs. People can't afford to put food on the table because it's so expensive. People have, and it's not about a material thing about Christmas, but look at it as a child's perspective. Put yourself in a child's perspective. What was your Christmases like? It's the memories, it's the love, it's the purity, it's the excitement, it's the childlike joy of going and seeing lights, getting something special, getting even a hug, being with family, being with friends, having a good, joyous time, having really good food, and having Thanksgiving. We're seeing less and less of this. And it's because of the madness of the evil that people are giving into it. And here we are on the foothills, whether you believe that Christ was born on the 25th, which most people don't anymore, but it doesn't matter. It's about the feeling of the holiday. We have to reclaim these days and we have to reclaim this time to be about love, purity, and moving forward, not about the evil inversion of what holidays mean, or it's pagan. Yes, Christmas is super fucking pagan. Sorry. Mistletoe, Norse. Christmas trees, Celtic. They did that when they came and they converted pagans to Christianity because they wanted them so bad. They made sure to incorporate some of their cultural significance of their celebrations and incorporated it into theirs. This way, they didn't feel so left out. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you follow. If it's of the light and it is of the one God and the oneness of all. Please, all of you keep warm. If you're in almost who knows how many states now affected by this cold, please keep safe. Please keep warm if you can. If not, please get in touch with your available emergency services or get to a shelter that has the heat. Make sure you are drinking an exorbitant amount of water. We're going through a new moon. We have new energies coming in. We have DNA. Everything is happening, guys. It's an incredible time to be alive. but it's a very scary one, and not to be in fear, but of the unknown. We don't know how this is all going to transpire. This book is giving us a little insight, and it's already happened. It's been happening. But the more that we understand and realize what is happening and what was written all the way back when, we're not doomed to repeat the past. We're doomed to make it worse if we don't choose to put the will and intention to make it better. Sending each and every one of you love and light. Please have a very Merry Christmas. If you celebrate, please be safe. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, Saturnalia, Festivus, the millions of other holidays, Yule, that go on during this time. The most important aspect of this time is to be around loved ones and family, and to be of love and joy and harmony and happiness. Get back to your childlike essence and be playful. Spread the joy. Think about the people who are unable to be with their family. Maybe do something nice. It's the kindest little things and the little acts that make a big difference in somebody's life. And I know it has of mine. Please enjoy. Spend time with your family. And I hope tomorrow I'll do some more reading. This heat's killing me. But I'm braving through it. I'll see you on the next one, everybody. Thank you.